motherfucking take.
Yeah.
This is from Hopscotch.
Yeah.
Big coffee.
Here.
Cool.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay, hi guys. So as promised, we're doing video number 2, and I'm here at Hercs Nutrition in City Place, downtown Toronto, and we have the mastermind, Arty, owner of Hercs Nutrition.
Fix my glasses. I'm just kidding.
And so basically we're just gonna go into more depth detail about fasting. We're gonna touch base even on some keto diet because, like I said, I've been dieting for the last 8 years, and I've tried so many different diets, so many different supplements, fat burners, nothing worked. I was a yo-yo dieter, and now finally I feel like I have a balance with nutrition. I don't train as much, and I'm still keeping a nice lean physique. And so we're gonna just jump right into it and let him talk for the rest of the video.
Welcome Jenna. Let's kill this. So basically what you said is, let's start that off, is myself being overweight my whole life for a long time, you kind of lose touch with yourself, because we're all following these diets and everything that's out there, and 1000% we start a new diet, we try it out, and what happens?
We don't follow it. We bounce back and we gain all our weight back.
Yeah, you can't follow forever because it's not sustainable. So if I told you, hey, you have to eat like this for the rest of your life, you're gonna look at me and say, fuck it, you're crazy. You know what I mean? And the biggest thing with everything, it's a diet. When we try something, you restrict calories, exercise a lot more. All of a sudden, you can't eat this, you can't eat that, you can't eat this, you can't eat that. And then what happens is...
Which is like every diet out there.
Every diet out there, right? And we try them, and then you lose weight, you become fit, and then all of a sudden you think, oh, okay, so I'm good, I get to eat again however I like, and I'm gonna be okay. Because that's what I see in the magazines. All these people are eating these kind of foods and they're not gaining weight. They're doing these crazy refeeds with pizza, hamburgers, and shit. And it's like, I'm gonna look just like that, but wrong. You bounce back in a week or two, you start to lose your abs or your stomach. You don't have to have a perfect ab stomach, but as long as you're comfortable with yourself, you go back to where you started and a lot worse. I just made a post about that, saying that in reality, you're not fixing any of your hormones and your organs. And if you can't fix your hormones and your organs, then all you temporarily did is just lose weight, because you put in a little extra work, you overworked yourself, you created a massive deficit because you worked out twice a day or once a day, restricted a lot of foods, your calories, and your body naturally will slow itself down to kind of get used to the amount of calories that you take over time. And I usually, when we hit a wall after 3-4 months. Yeah. And after you hit the wall after 3-4 months, what happens is, you plateau. That's called a plateau. So what happens is you kind of start to stress out. You're like, well, I'm doing everything right. You're not losing weight anymore. You're not seeing the toneness that you should be seeing. And then you kind of fall off. And then you have 1 bad day, 2 bad days, 3 bad days. And what happens?
Bad month.
1 week,
bad
2
month.
weeks, about 1 month turns into, hey, I'm back where I started. So here comes in fasting, keto, and intermittent fasting, prolonged fasting. It goes into further science even later on, if you want to get more picky, what foods we should consume, how and when. But it doesn't have to be that difficult. You can literally freestyle it. You don't have to calorie count. I think that's old school.
Very macros, old school.
Old school, very unproven, because again...
Carb cycling, old school.
Carb cycling, old school, you know what I mean? And all of those things we were taught and passed on doesn't mean they're wrong, because they're just a strategy. So if you know how to utilize it, and you know that you can carb up and eat a lot of carbs the 1 day or 2 days, well then you know, hey, I've released mass amounts of insulin from your pancreas, and then that insulin, grabbed onto that energy, turn it into energy. But if you keep doing it, what happens is your insulin gets released, grabs onto the energy, and maybe starts to store it because you're over consuming, and that's how gradually you get overweight.
So would you say those diets, do they work? Does counting your macros, counting your calories, all that, does it work?
It works for a short period of time. I've tried them all. I've tried intermittent fasting. I tried carb cycling, if it fits your macros, going high protein diet. Everything always works for a little while until your body's so smart. It actually will slow itself down after a little while to adjust to the calories, because it doesn't want to lose its muscle. So if it notices that you're overexerting yourself and you're only feeding yourself a minimum amount of calories, at first it will work, but gradually it will start to slow itself down, because your body's actually adjusting itself to the current situation, because it doesn't want to die.
So what would you tell a guy who is watching this video right now being like, well, I work out 5 or 6 days a week and I'm eating like every other hour and like it's working for me, it's fine. Like, is there any long-term side effects that could happen to someone our age who's doing this?
Long term, yes, you're aging very quickly. Everybody always thinks working out every single day and not giving yourself breaks, go is a good thing. There's a whole nother day we could talk about this, but it ages you. So if you don't work out, then you can't really maintain and build muscle, because over time you will lose it, and that's your lifeline. If you overwork out, the whole thing, oh, you're not recovering. The truth behind that is, if you're running your car, your engine, your body, your temple, whatever you want to call it, constantly on full gas, well, guess what? All your hormones and all your organs are being overworked. Over time, they will burn out. Unfortunately, you can't go and be like, hey, I want to replace this, I want to replace that. Maybe in the few years, you probably will be able to, like in a car, but this is real life, so you got to respect your body. As much as you put it through a lot of work, you have to give it time to heal and relax and repair, and that's where fasting comes into play.
Yeah, so let's talk about fasting.
Let's talk about fasting. So fasting is a tool. It's not starvation.
Like basically, like, what is fasting? Let's start off with that.
Okay, let's start with fasting. So fasting is basically abstaining from eating for a certain period of time, and it's been in our DNA, our genetics since day one. Since we're around as humans, as hunters, right? But back in the day, let's go way back. I'm a hunter. You're at home. You're getting the fire ready. I come back in a day or two, and I got a big animal, and probably get some berries and leaves along the way. Or you grab the berries and leaves and stuff, and I went hunt. Boom, we have food now for 4 or 5 days. The little tribe is fed. We gain a little bit of weight. And then guess what happens? Then you go a couple more days without any food again, because you have to go hunt. There were no refrigerators, there weren't ways of storing food. And then as we evolved, things started to change, but this changed so slowly. It's just in the last 100 years, things have changed dramatically to the point where we're overfeeding. We're constantly eating. So even during the World War times, and there was famine in the past, our bodies are designed to be able to sustain a fast. And genetically, our body was designed to protect itself. So two amazing things happen when you fast. And we'll get into fasting and how you can do fasts. Your body releases growth hormone, so you're not injecting it. It is an actual release of natural growth hormone, and I believe it spikes by 300 to 330% in the second and third day, because your body's saying, holy shit, I don't want to die. Jenna, don't lose your muscle, protect me. So the growth hormone gets released. Now you're protecting the lean muscle mass. And autophagy occurs. Autophagy is the recycling of your dead cells, bad cells, loose skin. Everybody thinks, ooh, you're gonna fast, you're gonna lose protein, your muscle. Your body it's not stupid. It will go after the decrepit and the shitty cells that shouldn't be there anymore, and it's your ability to level them off, and then when you go back to building and eating healthy on the micronutrients, what's gonna happen is you're gonna have an opportunity to rebuild everything new. So you can't reverse aging, but you can definitely slow aging down. So, have you seen bodybuilders, and I'm not bashing anybody, but they don't look their age. Usually when you see someone, they're like, wow, you look huge, but how old are you? And then they tell you...
They're like 20.
Yeah,
they look like they're 35.
Or even worse, right?
Yeah.
If they're like 25, I've seen guys look like they're 30, 40, 45, and, teach your own, I guess. It depends there's no real right way, unless it's that person, right? If that's what you want for the rest of your life, it's longevity. Do you want to be young? Do you want to be healthy? Do you want your organs to work? Do you want to be able to not have mental issues, health issues? All these little things. I'm not saying this is the cause, but it could stem from that. How healthy we are on the inside, our organs, is how we actually are on the outside. The way maybe skin rashes and all that kind of stuff, but that's a whole other topic.
So let's talk about the difference between female and male when they're fasting, like what takes place. So obviously if guys are trying to watch this and think I'm gonna lose a lot of muscle if I'm fasting.
Yeah, so you don't lose any muscle because the growth hormone gets released, and autophagy.
How you said 300% growth hormone?
I think about 330. Don't quote me, but I believe that's what a few doctors that I follow, Dr. Berg, Jason Fong.
And that takes place on the second day?
Second day, your body releases about 300% of growth hormone. It increases growth hormone. So growth hormone usually is released in your deep sleep. So you're technically fasting because you should be not eating before you go to sleep. So now your body has an opportunity to burn the energy that you've consumed. It takes about 4 to 6 hours to digest your food depending on what you ate. And then all of a sudden now you're hitting your deep sleep around 2 or 3 o'clock if you follow the circadian rhythm. and then your growth hormone gets released. So at a certain age, when we hit a certain part of our life, we stop growing. So you're not growing this way anymore, but your growth hormones still exist inside you, and it's there to repair you, to regenerate you, right? So you don't lose any muscle. If anything, you're going to be able to lose a lot of fat and rebuild healthy new muscle, and you're going to be able to grow in a rapid rate the natural way. And even if you're not doing it naturally, even if you're using other substances, imagine you can utilize this strategy with fasting. You'd be sorry. It would be through the roof, right? So great results. So you don't have to worry about losing muscle. Men probably start losing muscle about 4 or 5% body fat. Once you're down, your body's not stupid. It will burn fat. We store fat for a reason, so that you can feed you for energy, right? And why we're talking like this, because this has all to do with fasting. So if you overconsume your food, like we talked about earlier, if you overconsume your food, all you have to do, hey, I got massive amounts of calories, I released a lot of insulin, my body stored a little extra weight, and now I'm going to burn it. I'm going to utilize this. So what do? You do a fast. Why we fast is because your pancreas.
Okay, so let's before we get into that, now let's talk about like how the female body works for all the females out there. Like how would it affect their hormones? Would it help their hormones? Will they lose weight?
I think it will regulate all your hormones. And basically for female, it is a little bit harder because you have reproductive systems. So you might get a little bit more cravings for sugar and stuff like that. It's not going to be easy, but you can start off where a guy could start off with a 16-hour fast. Shouldn't be a problem. It might suck for a day or two, just because your body, it's like taking drugs away from somebody, or taking away sugar from somebody, or taking caffeine away from somebody. You're gonna feel like crap. You're gonna have headaches. You're gonna feel like shit, and that's normal. So for a female, instead of doing a 16-hour fast, maybe start off with a 12-hour fast. Maybe do a 14-hour fast, and then gradually upgrade. Now, if you're super skinny and you don't have a hard time gaining weight, if you have a hard time gaining weight, my apologies, you might not utilize fasting as much. It's a tool. It's there like, hey, I binge ate. I went to a wedding and I had 6,000 calories. I got puffy. Okay, fast for one day. You're not going to lose any muscle. You're going to recycle and get to tap into what you've stored and you put away, right?
Because I know there's a lot of girls on there that ask me questions about fasting and how it's beneficial for them to lose weight. And most of the girls on there, they're eating every couple hours because that's what it's told, but it's actually not working for them.
Yeah, and it's not working because it comes down to body types, right? So if you're somebody that has extra weight as a female or a male, if you take away, that's the beautiful part is here's how it works. If you take away your sugar and your carbs, and if you abstain from eating for a little period of time, your body, your pancreas, which is responsible for releasing insulin, it's the gaining hormone, and that's how your body releases it, so you can burn energy they consume so that you feel good, right? So basically, how all of this works is, you eat to store and to feed and to have energy, and then you abstain from eating. That way you can recycle everything. So for a female or a male, it doesn't matter. It might be a little bit tougher for a female. Benefits are the same. You're going to lose fat. You're going to tap into fat stores. Now let's say you get to your desired weight. Now instead of fasting every day, you might only want to fast 3-4 days out of the week. You might want to do a full day fast. You might want to do an 18-hour fast. It's called an OMAD diet, 1 meal a day. Make a big meal. Doesn't mean you don't eat enough calories. That's the big thing. That's a big mistake that people do. If you're going to do a prolonged fast or whatever, in that feeding period, you still got to get your calories in.
Yeah, okay. So for me, when I first started fasting, like I said before, a big reason for me was just because I couldn't work out a lot, and I wanted to stay lean, but I wasn't able to train, so I started fasting. So what I started to do with that is okay, well, I'm just going to eat once a day. I'll fast for 24 hours and eat a huge pizza.
Yeah.
So I started to eat, I was fasting, but I was starting to eat a lot more junk food than ever. I was eating sandwiches every day, potatoes, I was eating out. I was still staying lean, but I was fine. I was way more tired. I was way more fatigued.
Yeah.
My hormones were starting to kind of get all over the place. And that's when I was okay, maybe I really should try to take this seriously and take it to the next level, and maybe try a keto diet or starting to eat more proper whole foods than what I was doing.
1,000%. So just because you abstain from eating, that's an awesome strategy. It doesn't give you the opportunity to binge eat on crap. And crap meaning no micronutrients. So the whole macros, counting macros or eating macros is wrong. Unfortunately, your body, well, it's very fortunate. Your body requires minerals and vitamins, and you get that in the whole foods. You get that in your salads. You get that in your vegetables. Everything that has the actual micronutrients to be able to feed you and make you feel a certain way. So if you're living off of pizza, well, guess what? Unfortunately, not a lot of micronutrients in there. So what happens is your hormones and your organs start to downregulate themselves, and they become deficient. So then just because you look a certain way, it does not mean you're very healthy. So you're gonna have mental fatigue, mental fog, depression, anxiety. You don't feel good. You know what I mean? Your thoughts aren't clear. You don't have energy. You don't have the oomph. You don't want to get up and do things. You don't want to be around people because you're depleted. So just because you don't eat doesn't give you the right to eat whatever you want in the window. You still should eat healthy because you got to protect this. Your body does get a chance to regenerate its skin cells and protein cells and everything every 3 to 6 months, and it's doing it so off the food that you consume. So if you're feeding your body shit, pardon my language, you're not actually giving anything to rebuild healthy new cells with. Now, if you're growing in your teens and you can eat whatever the hell you want, it's because your growth hormone is being released and you're growing. And then as soon as you hit a certain age, 19, 20, 21, depending on your genes, whenever your growth hormone stops working from growing and repairing, that's when you got to be very specific in the way you kind of consume food and the type of food. And that's when everybody kind of falls apart because you leave home, you're on your own, you start to eat whatever you want, and then you have this uncontrollable weight gain, and that's where it kind of gets scary for a lot of people, because then you start eating less and you're like, why do I still feel like this? Why do I start to look like this? So all these things, you have to learn how to utilize them. So intermittent fasting is one, keto is one, throwing carbs into your diet every so often is one. The reason why you felt like crap is too, as well, you got to realize is when you binge eat on a lot of carbohydrates at once, one, they're depleting your minerals in your body. Two, you're not getting any actual real energy. And then you just consumed a lot of heavy foods, even gluten or lectins, whatever kind of food it's in there, that's causing internal damage to your whole intestinal tract, and your brain. You get that fog, you get the fatigue, you have no fish oils. And that's why this is not just a one-way, we could talk about this all day, actually, right? There's so much more. But let's keep it to
we'll just keep it to fasting. And I was thinking in my head, like, maybe we'll do another video on just like strictly keto, because there's so many much. Like proper things in there. And guys, like, I was such a non-believer and like just like a keto diet, I would like make fun of people who did keto.
Yeah.
But when it got to a point where it's like, you know, my body is always fatigued and I'm always so tired, and like I love carbs, I'll never 100% cut them out.
And that's perfectly fine.
But I've definitely decreased them. Like maybe now I'll have carbs once a week or once every other week, which is huge because I'm a person that eats sandwiches every day and I love it. But I'm realizing now that like there's so much shit in our foods, and like it's so hard to avoid if we just like, you know, if we're just not doing it. So
100%. And that's all very valid. Now, so let's just quickly finish up with what fasting is.
Yeah.
Fasting is just a tool. It doesn't mean you don't eat. You still have a feeding window, but what you do is you abstain from eating, and you're not starving yourself. This is a controlled absence of food. Yeah. Starvation is you have no food. Two different things. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you're still eating.
So for someone like, say like if they're you know, it's been a few hours and they feel their belly's starting to rubble.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah.
You have to fight through that. That's called ghrelin. That's your body signaling that you want to eat. Usually we're programmed to eat at a certain time of the day. You wake up, you have
So you can fix that.
You can fix that. You literally get a drink of water or a green tea. That will go away. That sticks around for maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes, and it goes away for another. And if it comes back in another 30, it will go away, and then it will come back. If you pay attention to it, it will come back at the time that you're normally going to feed. So if you're somebody that eats at 8, you're going to have that feeling right when you wake up. If you're going to feed at 12 o'clock, 12:30, because your body knows it's coming, it's telling you, hey, I want my food. You know, I know when I'm eating, and give it to me. And then obviously other causes too as well that release that if you're doing certain other things. You know what I mean? If you're one day maybe running massive, you're doing a huge day of working out or whatever. So
what if it's for someone, let's say, that works out like twice a day? Is it still good to work out twice a day and do fast at the same time?
I would work out once a day. I think 2 a day is a little too much. the whole thing about recovery. Everybody thinks it's the nervous system, but it's our ability to actually recover and not to release so much cortisol. So when we work out, we're actually creating cortisol, and that's a stress hormone, and that's a way to release insulin. It's good with a minimal amount. It's a good stressor, but if you constantly keep bashing that body, guess what? You know, even if you're not sleeping, right? What does that do? That causes cortisol. Cortisol releases insulin. Insulin is released. That's your weight gaining hormone. That's why you get fat. So eating a high carb, high sugar diet, massive amounts of release of insulin. That insulin is present. You're going to put on weight. You're telling your body to put on weight. Let's store some weight.
So what would be some a couple tips before we finish up to start like fasting? Like how can someone start to approach this?
Fasting, the way I always tell everybody to start is first start to try to fast. Still eat the way you eat. Try to clean it up. Start removing carbs and sugar, but still, you know, increase the healthy fats. But don't count anything. Just eat, and then just incorporate the fasting. Once you get a little bit better, you can be a little bit more strategic with it and be like, okay, now I'm going to take this and this and this out and replace it with this and this and this. And now you're adapting your body slowly to being more fat adapted, which
so
is
should someone
keto.
start off with like a 12-hour fast? Like what's the hour of a fast? Like is it 8 hours,
so you can do
9 hours?
Yeah, you can do a few, and there's no wrong way. But I do recommend a minimum of 16. If 16 is too hard of not eating in that window, then you can drop it down to about 12. And that's very, very easy to do. You're sleeping for 8 hours. Come on, folks. You're sleeping for 8 hours.
It is actually a lot easier than when I first started doing it, when I was doing 16. I was hungry, I was starting to get really hungry on the 13th hour, and that's when I would have a coffee.
Yeah.
And I found it really helped, and I just sucked up, and now it's it'll be 23 hours, 22 hours. I'm like, oh, I haven't been eating.
You can do a 16-hour fast, you can do an 18-hour fast, you can do 2 meals a day, you can do 1 meal a day. If you're super overweight, you can do a full day fast, 2-day fast, 3-day fast. Remember, if you don't eat, you don't release insulin, and you're forcing your body, you're signaling your body, you're telling your body,
and
whatever you want to call
huge.
it. Insulin is your gaining hormone.
Yeah.
Insulin controls everything. So if you put insulin in your body, you can inject it. Bodybuilders do, and that's why they do it to get big, which I don't recommend. Type 2 diabetics inject it, which I don't recommend. But obviously, I'm not recommending anything. Just take away the sugar and carbs. Now, if you're a type 1 diabetic, then putting insulin in your body is perfectly fine because your body just destroys it and doesn't actually work. So then you have to. We have a whole other day to talk about this. So remember, stay away from food. Eat in a nice feeding window. Eat all your micronutrients so that you can actually have the energy and all the minerals so you can sustain it. 2, after you're ready, you get a little bit more comfortable with a 12 to 16 hour fast, then you get into maybe extending it, depending on how heavy you are. Now, if you're you're not overweight, but you want to tone up, you might only want to utilize a 16, maybe a full day fast once a month or every couple months, right? So 16 to 8 is a good way. Let's break this down. Let's say you start eating at 12 o'clock, you finish eating at 8 o'clock. One day you're going out with somebody, you have a dinner date at 9, don't start eating that day till 1 o'clock, 1 till 9. Then you get a little bit better, shorten the window, 12 to 6. Maybe one day do it 2 to 8. There's no real right way, no wrong way, as long as you're abstaining from eating. What's acceptable during a fast? Green tea, coffee, lots of water. You can do apple cider vinegar, do a little pink Himalayan sea salt in it. That way you get your electrolyte in it, into your body so you don't feel lethargic and tired. There's so many things we need to go over, but for today,
this is kind of just basically the introductory video of all of this. And if you guys have any questions, I'm going to be posting this video probably in a week and a half, 2 weeks time. And that will also give us time to maybe do a second video, like a Q&A that we can ask you guys. So that
100%.
might be fun.
I think that's the best way because I could talk about all of this forever.
Yeah.
And I think
I told you he's passionate, guys.
Yeah, and a Q&A is so easy because it's these are the questions that you guys are asking, and it's super easy to answer them.
Yeah.
And then I'd be because I'm at that stage where I don't know what people have struggled with now. I do know, I went through it, but
Yeah,
it would be nice, even like you have the questions, here you go, the answers,
Yeah.
you start to apply, and you see the results.
Okay, cool. All right, well that's it for this video. So thanks so much, Arty from Hercs Nutrition, and I'll leave his information and everything all in here. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, just let me know, send me a DM or put it in the comments because I do see them. I just don't know how to comment back on YouTube, so I gotta figure it out.
Just gotta figure it out.
Okay, awesome. All right.
You're supposed to know this stuff.
See you guys later.
Later.
Yay!
All right, go.
Oh, good.